Wow.
And that means maybe I'll sleep less, maybe I'll take shorter breaks, I won't talk to people, I'll do very deep work. And what that does is then you gain momentum from the universe. Like the universal energy takes over. If people just do things because they feel like doing it, or it feels right, or it feels good, you will eventually maybe get it done, but you won't get the spiritual flywheel of the universe supporting you and giving you momentum.
All right, guys, returning guest today, David Ghiyam. He's taken the internet by storm since we last filmed, man. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Was that a plan for you to go all out on social media this year?
I did not expect it, but I think the content really resonated with people. It was new. And I mean, I've been studying this content and this wisdom for 25 years, and I haven't ever talked about it or posted about it in public. So I think that it was fresh, it was new, and it kind of took off.
Yeah, I've never really seen someone that teaches what you teach on social media.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why it resonated so well.
Thank you so much.
Kabbalah, man. So you started when you were a teenager.
Started when I was 15. Started studying when I was 15. Yeah. And then at 19, I graduated college, and I said, I want to bring this wisdom to the world. And joined a nonprofit and taught it 24/7.
Wow. Graduating at 19. How did you do that?
How did I do that? I would say that I test very well, and when I kind of put my mind to something, I'll make it happen. And I didn't like college, so I just said, how do I get this over with as fast as possible so I can start living my passion? But I also didn't want to drop out, so I just loaded kind of 4 years into 1 year. And
wow.
Yeah.
So you took 120 credits in 1 year?
That's That's
crazy.
That would be correct.
So your work ethic is next level, man.
I do have a good work ethic, very structured. So I just feel like a lot of times people underestimate what they can do very quickly. And if you don't take breaks or don't take gaps, the momentum takes over and like a flywheel takes effect. Like there's a concept of a spiritual flywheel in this world. So if I have a decision to do something, or if I get an idea, I challenge myself to complete at least 80% of it within 24 hours.
Wow.
And that means maybe I'll sleep less, maybe I'll take shorter breaks, I won't talk to people, I'll do very deep work. And what that does is then you gain momentum from the universe. Like the universal energy takes over. If people just do things because they feel like doing it, or it feels right, or it feels good, you will eventually maybe get it done, but you won't get the spiritual flywheel of the universe supporting you and giving you momentum.
Interesting. So you have a thought, and within 24 hours, you want to complete 80% of that.
If I have a thought and I feel like this thought is worthy of being manifested, I'll stop everything else I'm doing, and I'll make sure I won't do two things at the same time. And I will go all in for 24 hours on that. And I have like so many different examples of that. But then what I see is the universe produces a miracle within the 24 hours. And even if it's not the right thing to do, the fact that I put so much energy behind it, I learn very quickly that I'm not meant to do it. So I fail quick or I succeed quick. And that's also extremely beneficial because you have clarity.
Interesting. So you don't multitask, one task at a time.
I try not to multitask. I say no to 99% of things that come my way. People offer a board seat, a new idea. Here's a new way to make some income, invest in this, invest in that. And I've learned hyper focus just on one thing and then maintain a lot of free time so that when an idea comes to scale or innovate within that thing that I love, I can go all in with it.
I love that. It's easy to say yes to things.
Oh, of course. Especially now, and you probably notice this, as you get more successful, everyone starts to offer you more things to do. And then there's a part of you that doesn't want to miss out. So you start saying yes to things. And even though it looks simple and easy, everything requires time, energy, and bandwidth. And so it starts to drain you. And here's the other thing. People who are too busy, like if you're busy 24 hours a day, you actually subconsciously are telling the universe not to give you more ideas, not to give you divine inspiration, not to give you creativity, because you're already overwhelmed. So there is a part of you that's saying, I hope I don't get this. I'll give this example. I know a person who's got 20 employees and her business maybe does like $5 million a year. And she's always wanted to grow the revenue of her company, but it's been flat year over year. So I asked her, what do you not like about your business? She says, I don't like having employees. I don't like hiring people. So what does that mean? That means that subconsciously, the reason why her revenue is flat is because as soon as she's about to get a new client and grow her revenue, she realizes that if she gets this new client, she also has to hire new employees. So she starts sabotaging the sales pitch, subconsciously.
Yeah. All right, guys, shout out to LinkedIn, today's sponsor. As a B2B marketer, you know how noisy the ad space can be. If your message isn't targeted to the right audience, it just disappears into the noise. Luckily, with LinkedIn ads, you can precisely reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. With LinkedIn's targeting capabilities, you can reach them by job title, industry, company, and more. Stand out with LinkedIn ads and start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. LinkedIn ads allows you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. You'll have direct access and build relationships with decision makers. There's over 1 billion members on their platform, 180 million senior level executives and 10 million C-level executives. You'll be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. In technology, LinkedIn generated 2 to 5x higher return on ad spend than other social media platforms. You'll work with a partner who respects the B2B world you operate in. 79% of their content marketers said LinkedIn produces the best results for paid media. Me personally, I've found some great podcast guests, and it's been an incredible platform for finding out new information. Start converting your B2B audience into high quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/social to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/social. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
Because she doesn't want to take on more of what she hates. So a lot of people who aren't moving in their lives, a lot of people whose businesses aren't growing, or a lot of people who are not in relationships, but they say they want to be, is because they have a subconscious desire that is competing with what they say they want. And as a result, they're sabotaging it.
I feel like self-sabotage is pretty common.
Very common.
I used to do it.
How so?
I used to work 18 hours a day thinking it was productive. But like you said, you need time to reflect and to think.
That's right.
And I did that for 4 years. And like you said, with that other example, my revenue was flatlined.
This is so common. So if there's anybody entrepreneur, especially if you're entrepreneurial out there, you need at least 1 to 2 hours a day where you're not doing anything. Maybe go for a walk, talk out to the universe, open your mind, and you'll see that there's infinite wisdom that's coming down. You think of someone like Elon Musk or us, like we all have the same amount of time in a day. The difference is there's infinite wisdom, infinite ideas. There's a product idea that will bring you $100 million of revenue, and it is floating out here in the cosmos. What's going to get you to draw it down? Well, you got to be open. You got to want it. All your desires got to be all in to draw it down. And that only happens when you have the free time to think and talk out loud to the universe.
Absolutely. All the smartest people go on walks or meditate or do some sort of mindful activity, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I listened to you on Aggie's podcast.
Oh, you did?
This morning.
Yes.
By the way, that was one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to.
Oh, do you know Aggie?
Yeah. She's been on the show as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. But I pulled some questions from there. Can I ask you them?
Go for it.
So on there, you said 90% of your health relies on your consciousness. I thought that was really interesting.
That's right. People think that what they do in this physical world is actually determining how their life will become. What they don't realize is that this physical world is just a complete reflection of their consciousness. So if your consciousness is in the right place, then the whole physical reality will also follow suit and adapt to what you need. What does it mean to have good consciousness? Well, having doubts is negative consciousness. Having fear, worrying about the future, or thinking about the past, it's a negative vibration. It's a negative consciousness. Having certainty, having love, having compassion, not being judgmental, all of this starts to elevate your consciousness. The hardest thing to do is to maintain good consciousness 24 hours a day. There's even ways to maintain good consciousness during your sleep and in your dreams. There's ways to actually prepare yourself before you go to bed, because your soul also has consciousness while you sleep. And a lot of how you sleep will also determine the type of destiny you have in the following day.
Wow.
So one of the things I tell people is that all day long, you're going to have intrusive thoughts. You're going to have past life and this life traumas coming back, and it's going to put you in a fight or flight mode, and your consciousness drops. You see someone doing something you don't like, you start to judge them. As soon as you judge them, you create a whole new reality where now you have to go through the same exact thing that you're judging them for. If I judge someone for being overweight, or maybe their eating habits are not aligned with the way I do things, at that exact moment, my metabolism slows down. And the reason why that happens is not because we're being punished for judging people. The universe or the creator doesn't punish. The goal of creation is that we all go back to a state of oneness, unity, and love. So when I judge someone, I'm immediately creating separation. The universe then has to overcompensate and then have me experience that same pain so that I have empathy and I come back to be one with them.
Is that called karma?
Karma often has a punitive tone to it, So it's probably like a karma 2.0. It's this idea that it's karma plus an intelligence that is bringing you back to your perfected state.
Wow.
Because none of us want to be in negative consciousness. We don't want to be in doubts and fears and in bad mood and sarcastic and judging people. It doesn't make us feel good. So our soul tells the universe, hey, the body is right now doing something that's not good for it. Can you send in some reinforcements to push it towards goodness?
Right.
So then we start going through pain. Pain cleanses us. And then eventually, hopefully, pain will elevate our consciousness.
I grew up in an environment where I was judging people daily. I'm glad I got out of it. But even to this day, I still get thoughts and I kind of fight them off.
They come in, right?
Yeah.
The question is, where do these thoughts come from? So these thoughts often come from past life spiritual baggage that we haven't corrected. And they come back again to give us the opportunity to correct. Often before you're about to have great wealth, meet your soulmate, achieve some kind of amazing accomplishment, you'll be bombarded with a lot of negative thoughts, fears, anxiety, and chaos will come in. Because all of this negativity actually holds within it sparks of energy to bring towards your new miracle that's about to come. So this negativity needs to come for you to overcome the negativity, extract the sparks of light, and then the new miracle comes.
So negativity is needed then?
Negativity is very needed. If you wake up in the morning with anxiety, sadness, intrusive negative thoughts, that's a very good sign. It means that that day there's a great light, great miracle that wants to be revealed to you, but can only be revealed when you feel this negativity and overcome it, choose to overcome it.
Wow. That was me every day in high school, man.
Well, that's why you had such a great potential.
Yeah.
So honestly, anybody who's listening and you are like bombarded with these thoughts and these fears and this kind of negative patterns that come over and over again, you need to know you're probably a very high soul. And there's so much that is meant to be revealed through you and through your soul. And so that's why the negativity is spending time on you.
Wow.
Negativity comes where there's great light, not where there's great darkness. So take it as a compliment if you're having negative, intrusive thoughts all the time.
Yeah. I saw a really interesting video you posted of like when you get sick, it's actually a good thing.
Well, every time a person gets sick, it could be a mild cold or more chronic disease. Sickness is the fourth stage of how the universe communicates with us in order to cleanse us as negativity. If we accept the sickness, if we become happy during the sickness, even if we fake it, we speed up the process of cleansing and then we learn the lesson much faster. But a lot of times people become victims. People get sad during sickness. People end up doing more negative things. And as a result, they perpetuate the negativity and perpetuate the sickness.
That is fascinating.
So that's the fourth stage. There's actually 3 more subtle stages where the universe is talking to us, less painful to change something. It could be, for example, someone listens to your podcast and they hear something powerful that they need to change about themselves, but they ignore it. But that's more like a subtle whisper from the universe. Then it gets slightly more painful. Sickness in the body is the 4th level of the universe talking to you. And if you don't listen then it's death. So death is basically the final fail-safe of cleansing. Person dies, they go through a spiritual cleansing, and the soul comes back, new body, new environment, new parents, new relationships in order to overcome the same negativity it couldn't in a past life.
Wow. What's the second and third stage?
Second and third stage would kind of just be like, let's say a parking ticket, like something that is just annoying, but a lot of times people will just kind of dismiss. A parking ticket is not indicative of you parked in the wrong spot. The reason why you parked in the wrong spot is something in your consciousness wasn't in the right place. That's why you parked in the wrong spot. The third could be like a car accident. It's something that is much more annoying, much more expensive, but manageable, right? You can get your car fixed eventually. When it goes inside the body, it's very hard to ignore because you could have wealth, power, you're connected to everything, but once it's in the body, you got to deal with it. And I heard this once on a podcast. I forgot who it was. But they're like, in 25 to 30 years, you will give all your money to feel the way you feel today.
Wow.
Because your body does get to a place where it forces you to think differently and change. Otherwise, you'll suffer, regardless of how much money you have.
Yeah. Time, right? It's the one thing we all want more of.
Correct.
You also said on Aggie's podcast, the more you crush it, the more you get tested. I thought that was interesting.
So the more successful you become and the higher you get through fame and respect, through wealth, power, you need to have a bigger, larger vessel to be able to hold that energy. So the only way to get this bigger vessel is to be tested and to experience some more of your fears and anxiety so you can overcome it. You can't get to this very high altitude of fame, respect, energy, and keep it if you still have ego, if you still have fears, if you still have insecurity, if you still have traumas. So all this stuff starts to come up to the surface. Kind of imagine a plane that's grounded. You know, you can have the windows open, you can have the doors open, there could be a crack, nothing, it's okay. But as soon as the plane goes to a very high altitude, the smallest crack can take down the plane. And so as we grow and become more successful to higher and higher altitudes, we have to make sure that our vessel is much more secure and cleansed. So what I would tell people, and I've coached people for 20 years on this, some of the most successful people in the world, celebrities that are kind of like on their way up, and they would come to study Kabbalah, to study spirituality, because they realized, hey, I'm about to blow up. I already have millions of people watching me. I'm about to have hundreds of millions of people watching me. What do I need to do now to secure myself so these blessings last? How many people do we know who become successful? They get all this money and then they lose everything because they didn't do the work up front to elevate their consciousness and their spiritual vessel to be able to hold that energy once it comes.
Wow. No, that's so true, though. So many celebrities, they call it falling off. Almost all of them, right? I can name very few that have been here my whole lifetime of 25 years.
That's right. That's right. So it's actually quite exciting. If anybody who's listening right now, like you're on your way to something, instead of just focusing on being successful, that should be part of it. Spend 30 minutes at night before you go to bed and write down all your fears. Write down all your negativity that you know about. Ask a couple of your friends, hey, what do you think I need to change? That's going to be so important because that's going to be the vessel that's going to hold your wealth. Hard work might draw money in, but it's spiritual work that's going to hold the money.
Yeah. Is it important to like conquer all your fears, to address them all?
It is more important than anything else to desire to know what your fears are and then work on them one by one, because if you do not, you will keep attracting scenarios that will come to awaken your fear. If you're afraid of not having money, you will constantly be put in situations that threaten to take away your money.
Wow.
You'll constantly attract lawsuits. You'll constantly attract people who try to take advantage of you. You'll constantly attract supply chain issues or roadblocks to destabilize you around money because you have a fear of losing money. Once you get to a place where you have complete certainty about your financial well-being, whether you have it, you don't have it, you're happy and secure inside, the tests around money stop.
How long did it take you to reach that confidence, that certainty?
I started our business, we started the business about 5 years ago. Sorry. We started our business about 10 years ago. And I think I was worried and insecure about money and finances because we were in so much debt for about 5 years.
Wow.
It took 5 years. That's despite the fact that I had 15 years of Kabbalah and spirituality under my belt. I knew what I needed to do, but when you're going through it, it's not easy. But I knew that the goal needed to be not make more money to overcome my fear and insecurity about money. I know people who are worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're so worried they're going broke every day. So they don't enjoy any of it. I realized that I had to work on myself to constantly let go of that fear, to constantly be okay with who I was, whether I had money or I didn't have money, to know with certainty that the next day, the universe and the creator would provide, even if I had nothing today.
Wow.
So that would be a mantra I would constantly tell myself over and over again. Whether I have money or I don't, I have the creator. I have the universe supporting me. I believe in myself, and that's all that matters. And eventually that becomes true inside of you. And then the energy shifts, and you never really think about money again.
Powerful. Does Mary do a lot of Kabbalah too?
She does as well, yeah.
Nice.
We started, she started on the path about 13, 14 years ago.
Oh, so after you.
Yeah. No, actually, after me. That's right. I started way before.
You put her on.
Yeah, she met me at the Kabbalah Center in New York after her brother died, and she was looking for answers about why someone so young could leave the world so early. And the best therapist in the world didn't give her the answers she was looking for. Someone said you should try Kabbalah. Once she learned Kabbalah, she got the peace knowing the journey of the soul and why it happened.
Wow. Yeah, there are some people that pass away really young, and there's meaning behind that, right?
There is. If a soul leaves the world, if a boy leaves the world before the age of 13 or a girl before the age of 12, the great sages share that those souls had volunteered to come into this world. They didn't need to, but they volunteered knowing they were going to leave the world early in order to facilitate a painful process for the parents and everyone around them, because that's what their soul needed.
Wow.
That's the spiritual work the parents needed to go through. So these are very pure souls. They actually have finished their correction on earth, and they volunteer to come down, and often they leave either as a miscarriage or an abortion, or it could be a stillborn, or it could be a child, God forbid, who goes through something at 1, 2, 3, but all the way up to 12 for a girl, 13 for a boy. The child is not really feeling pain. It's a volunteer soul that is coming in to help everyone that's living.
Wow. And what percentage of those people actually learn from that and can heal?
Some of the most successful people in the world that's been documented have gone through some kind of traumatic death experience, either from a child or a parent early on or a sibling. And they took that pain and created the vessel to create great success later on in life. So there is a correlation there of great pain. But I imagine there's a lot of people who go through this pain, but they don't have the tools. They don't have the support system. They don't have the wisdom. Our job is to fully reveal our unique light. And if you want to know how big your potential is, it is equal to the amount of challenges and difficulties that you go through in your life.
Wow. So if your life's easy, then...
If your life's easy, it's one of two things. Either it's a time... When life is easy, it's a time to learn to grow proactively as much as possible, because maybe your big test is coming. So you want to prepare for that. Or it could be indicative of past life work that you did, and now you're reaping the rewards of that. We don't know. A lot of times people come to this world just for one thing to change or one thing to grow from. A lot of times people come in and they volunteer to take on a lot of baggage. And so they're working through a lot of different things. But all of it is very positive. And to know that the universe is going to support you to accomplish it no matter what. Like, you do not have to be worried. You do not have to be afraid.
Have you done a lot of past life work?
What do you mean, personally or with other people?
Personally.
Personally, yes. I know a lot of great people who are mentors to me who have the ability to see and connect the dots. I think it's helpful to know about past life. Like, I'll give you an example. I started studying Kabbalah when I was 15. When I was 14, I was a professional poker player. So I was playing poker 8 hours a day. I was going to casinos at the age of 14, 15. And I was also trading in the stock market. So that's where I made a lot of money as a teenager in the stock market. Suffice it to say, I probably had a gambling addiction. I did have a gambling addiction. The thrill of playing was so great. Then I came to the Kabbalah Center. I started to study Kabbalah, and I sat down with someone who looked into my astrological chart. And Kabbalah explains that astrology is very indicative of your soul's journey and where it comes and the time it's born and all that. She doesn't know me. First thing she says to me says, past life gambler, and you came to this world to overcome your addiction to gambling.
Wow.
She didn't know who I was. My jaw dropped. I was studying Kabbalah for like 3-4 months. And she said, if you want to reach your greatest potential, you have to let go of gambling. From that moment on, I let go of poker. I let go of the stock market. I didn't go into a casino anymore. And then I started my spiritual journey. I was able to, bring this wisdom throughout the whole world. And then the brand started, and that became a global brand as well. And if I had not let go of my gambling, and I was good at it, I could have just been like, you know what, I'll grow up and just be a professional poker player. It would have been so limited compared to what my soul was meant to do.
Yeah, because you can't impact as many people as you can now, right?
I mean, how many people can I impact playing poker versus, teaching spirituality to the world and bringing like healthy vitamins to the world?
Wow, I love it, man. What a story. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
A lot of people actually don't know that.
Yeah. So I went through your Instagram. There's a few clips I want to talk about.
Please, go for it.
So your mother affects your aura, dead or alive.
Yeah, so Kabbalah explains that when parents conceive, that it's very interesting. Actually, when a child wants to be born, the child is pushing the parents to come together to conceive. So the desire for a man and a woman to have intercourse, to bring a child to the world, is actually initially being motivated by the soul of the child that wants to come in. During intercourse, whether it's that soul or a different soul that often wants to come down has a lot to do with the consciousness of the parents. So if the parents are in love or there's unity, that will help envelop the soul of the child with a very protective, positive layer. That's going to help the child as they're born and as they grow up. If the consciousness or the thoughts of the parents during intercourse is anger, or especially if the parents are thinking about another person during intercourse, that can have a major negative impact on the soul of the child that's being born.
Wow.
Yeah. So my recommendation is, if you're trying to have children, or you might have children, make sure you prepare your thoughts, that the thoughts are pure. You're not thinking about another man or another woman. And it's not intercourse that's from lust or anger or makeup sex. It is really one of unity and thinking about each other's needs. And that will envelop the soul of the child in a very positive way. What the father brings to the child's soul, and that starts from his thoughts and intercourse, is what's called the surrounding energy, the surrounding light of the child. So what the types of influences the child has, the type of motivation the child has, the external pressures and influences that come to the child is being determined by the father's consciousness during conception and throughout his life, and the internal feelings of the child, how they feel about themselves, their self-esteem, their self-worth, the thoughts that they have, the desires that they have, is being determined by the mother's consciousness during intercourse and throughout her life.
Wow. So if the parents get divorced, was that a choice by the soul of the child?
If the parents get divorced, it is most likely because they were destined to get divorced, and this child saw in the future that they would get divorced and chose those parents because the parents were going to get divorced. Because let's say that child's correction in this lifetime was to overcome the fear of abandonment. Well, how is he going to overcome the fear of abandonment? He needs to choose parents that it looks like are abandoning him. It's not that the parents caused him to have a fear of abandonment. It's that the parents awakened the fear of abandonment that was already in his soul for many lifetimes. And that's why the soul chooses parents that are either divorced or about to get divorced.
That's interesting, because my parents got divorced, and I used to think at the time, trying to prevent it, like I had a say in it, but it was already written.
In that case, it was already written, and it was all meant for your movie, for whatever reason, to bring stuff out of you so that you could work on it and become the great soul that you are.
Wow. Divorce rate's like 50% these days, so.
It is.
It's high.
It is high.
Damn. You also made a video about being the black sheep of the family, which I resonated with. I never really got along with a lot of my family.
Yes. So the context of that video was, if you are considered to be the black sheep in your family, and people are trying to suppress you or trying to alienate you, or they always have an opinion about what you should be doing instead of what you're doing, often it's because you are a very high soul with a big mission in this world. And just like any high soul, negativity comes to try to stop you. People feel threatened by what you're about to accomplish. A lot of people don't understand your greatness or your great light. And so that post was made in order to help people understand, hey, look, on one hand, know that you have a great potential and be true to it, stay authentic to your mission. On the other hand, if you can find a way to also have human dignity for those people around you, not just give everybody a giant middle finger and say, I am who I am, and that's the way it is. You want to get to a place where you can bring and build unity with everyone while still being true and authentic to yourself. And if you are the black sheep, know it's because you are a great soul and a great person. Often people have shamed them so much that they develop a complex or insecurities that maybe they aren't a good person. And that's just not true.
I noticed a lot of entrepreneurs are black sheeps.
That's right. They see the future. Why do CEOs get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases billions of dollars a year, to run a company? Often a company that they don't even know that much about. CEOs who get paid a lot of money are because they have a vision of the future. You are paying hundreds of millions of dollars because their consciousness is of such that they see the future. They see where this company of hundreds of thousands of employees needs to go, what direction it needs to go in. And so these people who see the future often start making decisions that are very against what everyone currently in the present state thinks is the right thing to do. It's because they see the future that everyone thinks they're a black sheep. Imagine a couple hundred years ago, I was talking about cell phones and computers to everybody. They think it's witchcraft.
Yeah.
But actually, it's very normal today. So often the black sheep is the person who's been granted vision of the future about what innovation is, productivity is, or how to bring a new light to the world.
And speaking of the future, you also believe people have two destinies.
Well, actually, people have infinite destinies. So the way it's explained is that when a person is born, they're born into one destiny, which is already pre-written. Every single thing from the relationships you're going to have to the sicknesses you're going to have, to the blessings you're going to have, to the day you die is already pre-written. But parallel to that, you have infinite destinies, better and worse, that are also pre-written. Like imagine going into a movie theater. Every one of those movies have already been scripted, filmed, and are playing. If you don't like one movie, you can't change that movie. You can't change those actors. You can't change those lines. But you can walk out of that movie and go into another theater and watch a different movie. So life is the same way. If you don't like the movie you have now, you can shift to a new destiny. In that new destiny, there's new people, there's new relationships, there's new income, there's new wisdom. Or you can shift down, and it's a lower quality of all those things. The only way to shift up or down in a destiny is when you experience pain or lack. Then you have the free will to shift up or down. When you have pain, if you become reactive, if you become selfish, if you look for instant gratification, you disconnect from the world of miracles and you shift down to a lower destiny. If you pause, if you become the cause, if you become positive, if you accept the situation and you have certainty, you shift up to a new destiny. In that new destiny, literally your wife or husband becomes different. In that new destiny, your flow of income becomes easier. Like everything becomes easier.
Wow.
So one of the things I tell people is stop focusing on trying to change everyone else because that movie's already written. Keep changing yourself and your consciousness and you'll fly through higher and higher destinies.
That's great advice because so many people try to change their friends, their family, and it's tough.
It's such a waste of time and energy and it's so draining and you waste years doing it until you realize nothing's changed.
Yeah. Wow, that is fascinating. So can you change the day you die? Because there's people trying to achieve immortality right now. Brian Johnson, Billy Carson.
It's interesting. People are taking so many supplements and so many anti-aging. And by the way, that's what we do. we make supplements just for that. But one of the things I realize is the great sages say, if you want to live longer, speak less evil speech. Because and there's 10 categories of negative speech. But every time we say even one word that either hurts someone, doesn't provide any value or good, or causes some kind of negativity, we actually lose a little piece of our soul and it takes minutes away from our life.
Wow.
So we actually die a little bit sooner because the breath is connected to the soul, right? Our breath is connected to the soul. So every time we waste breath for something negative, we lose a little bit of life. Words that are positive, words that build, words that bring people together, words that inspire, they add life or maintain life.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So actually, if you want to live longer, speak less.
Wow. I got some hours off my life from the I used to talk in high school.
But think about every podcast you do, it's obviously something that's positive or motivating or bringing people together in some way, right? Taking people to their higher level. So if all you did is these podcasts all day long, you would be kind of in the category of adding life, adding rejuvenation. Your cells would rejuvenate. Your hair would grow thicker and longer. Your skin would stay more youthful. And you see people who speak a lot of evil speech, maybe they gossip or they complain or they're sarcastic all the time. Even if they're beautiful, they look older. They look like they're aging. They have like a dark undertone in their skin. It's like a grayish hue, actually.
Yeah.
You can see it in the aura of the person.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, I'm definitely picturing it too.
Yeah, because every word also creates a negative, every negative word creates a negative angel. So people who are all day long speaking gossip or complaining, they have like millions of these negative forces all around them. And that's why it feels so uncomfortable being around them. Often people don't want to do business with people who speak evil speech. People don't want to open up to people. People don't want to marry or date people who speak constant evil speech or complain.
Yeah.
There's not one person in the world that finds complaining or gossiping attractive in order to be with them. So it's something that's really powerful. If there's one thing I can tell people to do, if you just speak less and you really think about everything you're saying and saying, is this adding true value? Your whole life would change. I used to wear tape on my mouth. I did it for a week.
Wow.
And I said, I'm only going to take the tape off if it's worth speaking. So someone would talk to me and I'd be like, is it worth taking the tape off for this? And 9 out of 10 times it wasn't, just to show how much of our words we are wasting.
Wow. That's fascinating. I had to cut off a childhood best friend because of evil speech.
Really?
He would just do it so much that it would affect my life.
You felt it?
I felt it. Bad things would start happening to me.
Oh my gosh. If bad things are constantly happening to a person, it's either they're speaking evil speech or they're spending a lot of time with people who are.
Yep. And it was tough because first grade, best friends, but
Wow.
he just couldn't get it. And I was trying to change him and I couldn't, you know?
Can you imagine just having friends, just spending time with people who are elevating your consciousness? I have a couple guy friends and every time we go to dinner, the first thing that we do is we talk about something positive to elevate us. Like
Wow.
we learn something, we study something. Even if we just ordered cocktails and we're in a beautiful restaurant, we will not fall into that energy. We try to constantly keep the energy up, and it's an incredible experience.
And speaking of energy, I'm now learning the clothing you wear matters.
Yes. So the clothing also has energy, from the way the clothing is made, by whom it's made, the fabrics that are used. And if the person was sad when they made the clothing, well, that gets transferred to the clothing as well. If I was sad while I'm wearing this shirt, so then that shirt picks up that energy as well. And so one of the things we need to really be careful about is not wearing old or used clothing from people that maybe didn't have good consciousness or good energy, especially shoes. It says if you wear other people's shoes that they wore, that is where actually the greatest negativity can come, because the shoes are like the lowest part of the person. It's the part that is closest to the ground, and that's where the negative energy is. So one of the things we want to really be careful of is not to wear other people's shoes, especially if they were not of a person of very positive energy or nature.
Wow. I need to stop buying my used shoes then.
Is there a business for used shoes?
Well, I buy my Nikes used just because they're so expensive.
Oh, really?
All the dunks.
Oh, really?
But now I heard most of those are made in like poor conditions too. So
Well, just like you said, you'll pay triple for vitamins that are like clean label and tested by third parties. I would pay a little extra to wear brand new shoes.
yeah, I didn't even think about shoes because I bought linen clothing and underwear. I got rid of all my polyester clothing, which took me 2 hours, but I didn't even think about shoes. So thank you for that.
Yes. And I also tell people, if you have clothing that you haven't worn for at least a year, it starts to take energy from your soul, and you should be giving it away. So every year I'll kind of go through my closet and I'll be like, I bought this, but I haven't even worn it for the last year. Then I'll donate it right away.
I need to do that. I got clothes from high school still in my closet.
Your whole energy will shift once you
Really?
start doing that. Yeah.
So are you big on feng shui and just staying clean and everything?
I believe in feng shui. I'm not that well versed in it, but I believe that feng shui is also tapping into how your external energy really affects the internal you.
That's one thing. That's probably my worst habit.
Is it?
Yeah, not being clean. My office is dirty, bedroom, everything.
Well, let's put it this way. If you've gotten this far in life from being messy and dirty, I can only imagine 5% more 5% more organization, where that's going to take you.
Yeah, I need to do that, man. I get it from my parents.
Really?
Yeah, they were super dirty.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people are very messy, but it's very organized in their mind. Right? Often you go on a trip and you just kind of open your suitcase and you throw your clothes everywhere.
That's what I do.
But it's almost like it's like a healthy chaos. It's like kind of an organized chaos.
Absolutely.
So that's okay.
I did an egg cleanse and had an evil eye, man.
Wait, I think I've heard about this.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it again? What is it?
So you take an egg, you leave it out for I think 24 hours, and then you rub it all over your body with the intentions of cleansing your body. Wow. And then you break it into water. And then the way the yolk forms shows what meanings you have.
Really?
And an evil eye can pop up. All sorts of webs can pop up.
Can anybody do it? It has to be a trained person.
Anyone could do it.
So you did it on yourself?
I do one every quarter, yeah.
What did it show?
Evil eye, man.
Did it show by who or what?
So each, I think, no, it didn't show who, but some people get red dots. And I remember when my friend got 4 of them. So it meant 4 people were talking negatively about her.
Wow.
So we found out who the 4 people were.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's why it's so important, because as you get bigger, everyone starts to scrutinize you, and there's more being said about you, and there's a lot more evil eye. This is why I always say, in the first 3 months, especially of starting anything, don't talk about it to anybody. Don't tell people your plans. Don't tell people about success you're having. Don't tell people about your new relationship. Person should never tell anyone that they just got pregnant for the first 3 months, because it takes about 90 days for the soul to really come down into the embryo. And if there's evil eye or jealousy around that baby being born, it starts to disturb the soul, and it's one of the most common causes of miscarriage.
Wow.
So any woman who just conceived, I would say, don't tell anybody, not even your parents, not even your sister that loves you so much, because maybe your sister wants to have children, and her finding out that you're pregnant, she's happy for you, she loves you, but it awakens her lack. And if it awakens her lack, she starts to siphon life force from the baby.
Yeah.
Subconsciously. It's not evil, it's not malicious, but subconsciously starts to take energy away.
Holy crap.
Can cause a miscarriage.
Damn.
And that goes with everything. Like in our business, like we wouldn't tell anybody about our business or what we're doing or how we're doing it. We kept it under radar as much as possible for 8 years until a press release came out and kind of cat's out of the bag. But once people find out about something, as long as you did your best to conceal it, you're protected.
Yeah, that's great advice. I used to always want to spread good news when I was younger.
Of course.
And it would always, within a week or a month, it would just backfire.
It would backfire.
Like, it was crazy every time.
Yeah, because as soon as you tell someone something, you're inviting their karma, their process into it. So that's why everything starts to slow down. If you want something to manifest quickly, keep it to yourself and only on a need-to-know basis.
That's why I filmed 3 months of podcast before releasing an episode. Because I wanted to do it in silence.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you also I remember first talking to you, it came out of nowhere and all of a sudden you exploded. And I think a lot of it has to do with just diligent hard work, not being in everyone's face immediately. And as a result, like next thing you know, boom, you're one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Overnight success, they call it, right? Took 10 years.
Took 10 years.
To build the brand up. You also made a video saying your energy and vibration can affect an important meeting 7 days beforehand.
Yes. So a lot of times people think, well, I can be whoever I want to be today. And if I have an important meeting or an important date or some kind of function that I need to perform well for in 7 days, then I just got to be a good person then. The truth is, who you are 7 days prior, 6 days prior, 5 days prior, what your consciousness is, how you act, whether you're in a different country or not, all of that energy will follow you and be in your aura when you go to this meeting. So if I have something really important coming up, I will make sure that at least 7 days prior, I'm as pure as possible. I'm speaking at least as possible so I don't have any negative forces, keep my consciousness high, maintain certainty as much as possible, and go in with a really high frequency and vibration. Then the chances of success are through the roof.
Wow. So if you're worrying about a meeting or presentation, that's bad.
Oh, anything you worry about, you draw energy away from and you cause chaos to the thing you worry. I talked about this too. A lot of times people think if I worry about something, I'm improving it or it shows that I love you if I worry about you. Parents who worry about their children, it's almost like a love language. Like, look how much I love you, I worry about you. But if you worry about your children, you end up hurting them. If you worry about your children, you're actually destroying their aura. If you worry about your business, you're causing holes in the aura of your business, so then challenges can actually come. You need to replace worry with certainty. I have certainty about my business. I have certainty about my children. Then you create a protective layer of energy around it.
So that being said, do you think they should change the education system? Because so many people worry about getting good grades.
Oh my gosh, the problem with the schools are they don't teach any of the stuff we're talking about. No one's talking about certainty, self-regulating emotions, not worrying about the future. I have a 7-year-old, and one of the meditations I try to do with him every day is I have him speak mantras with me, like, all that matters is the present moment. I'm not afraid of the future. I have complete certainty that everything that is mine will come to me. And I'm teaching him at a young age because there's things that bother him all the time. And if he doesn't have tools to self-regulate himself, he's going to constantly cause destruction, be reactive, have emotional issues, go to drugs, hang out with the wrong people, and dissociate himself from his parents. So I think not only the school system, but we need to be teaching this as young as possible, how to have good consciousness.
I love that. I had so much fear as a kid, man. Getting grades, getting into college. I mean, that was on my mind every day.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, especially being Asian. That was like super important to my parents.
That is, right? Where were you born?
Here, but my mom's from China. So
I see.
Straight A's or
Straight
you're
A's
a fail. You know? Oh, man. Shout out to my mom, though. You also said neediness speeds up aging and makes you unattractive.
Yeah, think about it. When a person is needy, what is that vibration? What is that energy? It's the energy of I'm the effect. It's the energy of I need you to be happy. It's the energy that I'm not enough. I'm not complete. So vibrationally, if you're not complete, well, death is also not complete. Aging is deterioration. That's not complete. So we start to attract everything that atrophies when we're needy, when we're certain, when we feel whole, when we feel full, when we remind ourselves that we already have everything. There's a part of us that says, no, you don't have anything. But you remind yourself, I have everything. It's all an illusion that I don't have it. Then you come from a place of wholeness and strength. The aging process stops, and then the miracles come. Before I even had a business, I had no money. I'm negative, absolutely broke in debt. I remember walking down the streets of New York City, looking at the buildings and I shifted my consciousness. I said, you know what? It's an illusion that I don't have money. I own all these buildings. I basically became delusional in a positive way. I said, I'm the richest person in New York. And I started to walk up and down New York City. I'm the richest person in New York. It was about a week or two later that the idea for Mary Ruth Organics came about. And we came out with our first product that eventually became what it is today.
Wow.
And so I noticed it was the shift in my consciousness, because for about a year prior to that, I was always worried. How are we going to pay the bills? Where are we going to get money from? Even though I knew Kabbalah and I knew this wisdom, applying it is a whole different muscle and strength. And I just wasn't used to being in that situation. Then I said, wait a minute. I need to apply this wisdom. The universe is perfect. I need to change my vessel to draw down the abundance. I shifted my consciousness. A week later, we had a brand.
I love that. Yeah, it's how you use it, right? Because a lot of people don't use it in a business setting that are spiritual.
Correct.
They just go down the spiritual path and
correct.
They don't care about money as much.
Correct. And it's easy to talk about it, but when you're in it, can you use spirituality to manifest everything in life, which is what you're meant to do?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in manifestation. I know some people doubt it because it's not, like, you can't prove it on paper, but...
People really doubt that still?
Manifestation?
Yeah.
Spirituality in general, some people are just super logical.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
25 years, I've seen it be bulletproof. Spirituality is 100% accurate, and it works. It's cause and effect, energy.
Yeah. I mean, you're proving it now with how viral you're going, too.
Thank you.
For real.
Thank you. Dude,
anything else you're working on or want to close off with?
What can I tell you? Well, I'll say one thing. If you find that you get to a level of success and then something goes wrong or some kind of sabotage happens over and over again, it can be in business, it can be in relationships. Anytime you get close to being in a loving relationship, something falls apart. You have to know it has to do with some kind of limited belief system about receiving that you personally have in your life that you've carried from past life. I know a guy that every time he hits a certain revenue number, he has chaos. Lawsuits, things fall apart, people quit, product stops working. $5 million in revenue hits a problem. I know people who can scale much more and then there's problems. I know people much less and then there's problems. It's an indication that something inside of them doesn't believe that they're meant to be successful. So as soon as they cross that barrier, they start to self-sabotage, kind of like what we said before. So one of the things I would tell everybody is, whenever you find yourself being stuck, ask yourself what part of you doesn't want this to happen. If you keep saying you want to be in love and you want to find your soulmate, but it's not working, well, what part of you wants to stay single? What part of you likes being independent? What part of you likes not having to sacrifice, because relationships involve sacrifice? That part of you is a limited and competing belief system that is causing you to stay small. It's obviously a longer conversation, but I would tell people, really look inside yourself and realize if you're not manifesting, it's not because there's something wrong with the universe. If you want something, it's because you've been chosen to receive it. It is yours. But you have to align all your desires, 100% of them, to go after that one thing and not have competing desires or belief systems that are self-sabotaging you from achieving it.
That's powerful. David, thanks so much for your time today, man.
Thank you for having
me. We'll link Mary Ruth's below and your Instagram.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for watching, guys, as always. See you tomorrow.